They called it the Grain of Spirits. Not because it vanished like mist, but because it only appeared after a ritual unlike any other. In a hidden valley, untouched by roads, where the soil was dark as ash and the wind carried voices older than language, there grew a golden grain so rare, so sacred. No one dared to plant it without first calling upon the old rhythm, the dance of life. This was not a crop that obeyed seasons. No farmer could predict its growth. No outsider ever found its seeds. The grain would only rise from the earth after the people gathered under the moon. Barefoot and silent, then slowly began to dance in circles around a fire of 5 woods. Their steps were not random. Each footfall echoed the beating heart of the land, passed down through generations, memorized like scripture. And then, as if woken by their rhythmic chant, the earth itself breathed a sigh. A gentle breeze stirred the air, rustling the dry grasses until the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Not an earthquake, but something primal, something alive. The dance could last hours, sometimes days. No one would speak. Only the crackle of fire, the rustle of leaves, the hum of the mountain. Then, without warning, it would rain. Not a storm. A blessing. And the next morning, in a single patch of earth they had danced upon, green shoots would rise. The grain had chosen to return. Scientists who later heard rumors tried to trace the grain. They failed. Samples wouldn't sprout in laboratories. Soil tests found no anomaly. But the tribe knew. It wasn't just about seeds, it was connection. They believed the grain was not just food, but memory. Each stalk carried the spirit of their ancestors, awakened only by movement that honored the earth. They didn't eat it casually. It was reserved for births, death rites, and once-in-a-generation decisions. And those who consumed it spoke of vivid dreams, guidance, healing. Elders swore it revealed forgotten knowledge. It was said that long ago, before the memory of their kind faded, this grain had been common across the lands. But one by one, its people forgot the dance. Its spirit faded into legend. No longer did the earth stir to the rhythm of their feet. No longer did the grain rise to meet their eyes. Only here, in this hidden valley, did the tradition endure, passed down through whispers and dreams, until a young mother named Alara nearly lost hope. Her son Tano was born under an indifferent sun, a time when the spirits walked among men. He was the first in her family in 5 generations to show an interest in the forgotten ways. At night, he would listen wide-eyed to his grandfather's tales of the dancing grain, begging to see it for himself. Alara worried. In her time, such things were seen as folly, superstition. Yet she couldn't bear the longing in her son's eyes. Maybe it was the mountains, she thought, or the ancient wisdom in her blood. But something urged her to seek the elders, to ask the questions she herself had long buried. The village shaman, a wizened woman named Amara, looked at Taino and smiled. "The child is ready," she told Alara, "but the season is not right. You must wait for the crescent moon." When the moon was right, the whole village came together. Men, women, children all gathered outside the village limits, where a ring of standing stones marked the sacred ground. Here, every 100 years, they danced to call forth the spirits. And now Taino stood among them, eyes shining with wonder. As the last rays of daylight faded, leaving a sky dusted with stars, they began to move. Barefoot in silence, they formed a circle, hands resting lightly on each other's shoulders. In the center, a pyre of 5 woods crackled merrily, casting dancing shadows on their faces. One log burned with the color of sunset, another with the emerald fire of new leaves. A third blazed with the steady gold of ripening grain, while the fourth sent up flames the color of a summer sky. The 5th log burned with the purest white, like starlight on fresh fallen snow. The fire crackled, sending sparks spiraling upwards like tiny shooting stars. As the night deepened, the villagers moved in a silent, fluid dance. No steps marked the passage of time, but the flickering firelight painted patterns on their faces. Each twist and turn echoing the heartbeat of the earth. And then, as if roused by the rhythm of their feet, the forest stirred. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the scent of distant rain and the murmur of awakened spirits. The dance continued, becoming faster, more frenzied. Suddenly the girl stepped forward. She was the youngest of the village, barely more than a child, yet her movements were precise. echoing the ancient steps her grandmother had taught her. The others followed, their steps quickening until they were a blur. The fire blazed, reaching towards the heavens. And then, as the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, the dancing ended. They stood in a circle, chests heaving, eyes closed, listening to the symphony of the forest. And then it began to rain. Not a torrent, but a gentle shower that fell upon the parched earth, nourishing the sleeping soil. The villagers opened their eyes to see the gray sky weeping tears of joy. And in the heart of the circle, where the earth had trembled beneath their feet, the first sprouts of the golden grain pushed through the wet soil. When the sun climbed higher in the sky, they feasted on roasted boar, sweet berries, and fresh fish from the nearby river. Laughter echoed in the valley, mingling with the music of flutes and drums. When the time came, they returned to the dancing ground. Instead of a circle of dancers, they stood in a great arc, facing the newly sprouted grain. One by one, they stepped forward. Taking handfuls of grain between their fingers, they scattered it on the ground, letting the seeds fall like golden tears on the thirsty earth. They returned to their homes with baskets of grain, each kernel heavy with the promise of life and legacy. And as the weeks passed, the grain flourished, growing tall and strong in the heart of the valley. It was a sight to behold, a sea of golden grain rippling in the wind, each stalk a testament to their faith and devotion. And when the time came for the harvest, they celebrated with a joyful festival, giving thanks to the spirits for their bountiful gift. Years turned into decades, and Tino watched over the golden grain with reverence. It had become his life's work, ensuring the ancient rituals were never forgotten. He taught the younger generation the secrets of the dance, the meaning behind each step and turn. And as the seasons changed, so did the grain. Some years the stalks grew tall and slender, reaching for the sky. Others they stood short and sturdy, bending under the weight of their golden heads. But through it all, they remained a source of sustenance and strength for the people. One day, a stranger stumbled into the hidden valley. He was weary from his travels, his clothes torn, and his spirit low. Taino, recognizing his need, offered him food and shelter and listened patiently as the traveler shared his tale. He was a seeker of lost lore, a scholar who had journeyed far in search of ancient wisdom. When he learned of the golden grain and its mysterious ways, he had followed its whispers until he found the hidden valley. Tino saw the hunger in his eyes, not just for food, but for understanding. So he led him to the heart of the village, where the elders sat in council, their faces etched with the wisdom of ages past. The scholar listened intently, his gaze fixed on the elders as they spoke, his heart stirring with a long-forgotten memory. When they finished, he thanked them for their teachings and asked for their blessing to share their wisdom with the world. The elders nodded their approval, for they knew the time was near when the forgotten ways would need all the help they could get. The scholar embraced Taino, promising to be a worthy ambassador for their people and their beliefs. And so the scholar left the hidden valley, carrying with him the seeds of ancient wisdom and the hope for a brighter future. For many moons, there was peace in the valley. The people lived in harmony with nature, guided by the wisdom of their ancestors. But then, as if stirred by some dark purpose, outsiders began to creep into the hidden valley. They came with promises of progress and development, seeking to exploit the land for their own gain. The villagers, however, stood firm, protecting their sacred way of life with unwavering determination. In the face of adversity, Taino knew he had to act. He called upon the ancient rituals, summoning the spirits for aid. And as the villagers danced beneath the moonlight, the very essence of the hidden valley stirred. The golden grain responded, its roots digging deep into the earth, its stalks reaching towards the heavens, forming a protective shield around the village. With each step, with each whisper of wind through the golden heads, the spirits of their ancestors flowed into them, giving them strength and courage to fight for their home. And as the final rays of sunlight faded, leaving the valley in darkness, the villagers stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, fortified by the wisdom of the ages and the power of the golden grain.